I don't want to do an audio recording.
Because you can't connect with it, right? I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I can also separate the audio from this.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the
Declaration of Independence
yes.
by Thomas Jefferson.
Okay, so what is your so you said that it was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
How so?
Because I think it's ahead of its time because the way you already are able to say that a human's pursuit of happiness should be in a way that it benefits the community and the economy of a country. And it's ahead of its time because this was independence from colonialism. Colonialism is exactly the opposite of this.
Yeah.
It's imposing your beliefs.
It's imposing your authority upon others.
Exactly. And then when the Declaration of Independence comes, you turn that around completely. But that's what you've been instilled with so far. So that's why I felt like it's ahead of its time. But I get it. You're speaking into the future. But it's just like ironic, I guess. Or funny.
So do you think it has the Declaration of Independence? Do you think it has some relation to Christianity or religion in general?
I need to do more research on that.
Have we discussed like religion?
Yeah.
I think we have to like some extent. But
yeah.
for me, my theory on religion is basically that the purpose of all religions is ultimately the same.
It's a sense of community, in my opinion.
I think
belonging.
I think community and belonging is a byproduct of religion that is very powerful. But I think its main intention is to create a sense of basically to have humans live in harmony with each other.
Yeah.
So, and ironically, what happens with religion and differences in religion. So basically, everything that a religion preaches, right?
I think humans are barbaric without structure, and we crave structure in literally everything. We can't do anything without structure. Our education system, anything that is instilled by society, it's just structure, and they act like religion is one thing that's above it, or it's a thing that's not related to the modernities of the world and whatnot. But technically, no, it is. It's just the first thing that probably might have happened.
I think structure was present before religion in the form of tribalism and in some sense villages, where you have certain denominations of like someone's a cobbler, someone's a blacksmith, someone's a fisherman. So you had a sense of structure in that, but once you started to see different tribes and societies merging with each other, when you started to see it happen on a larger scale, you needed a bigger sense of structure. You couldn't have a casual structure of a tribe or a village. You need something to tie everything in together and to create rules. And that is why the central sort of religion was founded. That's why a lot of values, depending on where you come from, they're all based on religion, like a lot of family values, and it's kind of been passed on throughout history. And it's funny how we've gone from being like a religion-centric society to secularism, which is the complete opposite of that, to separate law from religion. And the reason why we've had to do that is because people place too much emphasis on the not the nuances, but the specifics of religion. I don't like using that word, but it more of the rituals and the material things in religion, whereas and by that, without realizing the true importance of religion, what we've what we end up doing is that we place too much emphasis on like the materialism.
Like doing pilgrimage and
Exactly.
things like that. I literally personally don't believe that if I believe in a religion 100%, I don't think I should have to prove it. I think religion by nature should be a thing that you don't have to do anything to be a part of it.
Hmm.
That's what I believe.
agree.
I don't know. This is like not right to say because there are like every religion has a few things that people do. But personally, if the whole point of it is to make people belong,
Hmm.
and it's something that you're born into, you don't even get to choose this, right? You don't get to choose your religion. Or you can, but like you're born into it from families and stuff. If it's like that, then why do you have to do things in your life to prove that you're a part of that
Absolutely.
religion?
I agree with you. I think a lot the reason why we have rituals to prove that we're part of a religion is because a lot of these rituals instill things like discipline
Yeah.
into you. So when you have to pray 5 times in Islam, a lot
Yeah.
of interpretations of Islam, it's not meant to be to the ultimate
give
purpose might
routine.
it might be disguised in the form of to show your devotion towards Allah, whereas what it really is, it's setting discipline and routine within you. Because when you have such constants that you place into your life, you base your life around these constants.
Yeah.
Whereas the only constant that exists for a barbarian or a
It's
tribal
night and
individual is
day.
night and day.
Yeah.
That's the only constant they have. Whereas in a complex society, you need way more than that.
Yeah.
You need to segregate your
Yeah.
day into 5 or 6 different portions.
You're right. That's why I think even the fasts that Hindu people practice, they all have a lot of scientific reasoning to why you do them. Like, there are times of the year where not eating for that amount of time is good for the chakras in
Yeah.
your body
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So everything has reason to it, but I think it turns into mockery really quick.
It does. Something that I really admire about my parents is that they believe religion. They believe in religion, and this is where my beliefs have stemmed from, and I've gone really in depth. Whereas they haven't really gone in depth while thinking about it, but I've gone super in depth about. So they believe in religion in the sense that creating the right values. So when my parents fast during these times, but they don't fast it to like show their devotion
Yeah.
to like an individual or like
Yeah.
an idol or whatever. They fast because they know that it's good for their body.
Yeah. My parents are not religious at all. Like, I think I didn't grow up with much religious influence in my life, but they always made this thing like no matter what, we will light a diya in our house every day. So I think
That's
even
beautiful.
taking a few things from like religion, just it's more finding positivity. People use that to find positivity a lot. My grandmother was saying that the happiest people in the world live in Vrindavan in India because they do nothing. They just chant all day over
Yeah.
there. And I think some people use religion as just a way to find solace, peace. And it does that for you. You don't have to believe in it. You don't have to show your devotion. But just knowing that it's there is enough for a lot of people. That's why some people just celebrate the festivals and actually know nothing about the religion. But
People,
it's still belonging, you know?
it does create a sense of community, and like I said, I feel like that's one of the byproducts of religion. But I also feel like that's why it's so important that we don't. So what I believe is that even if everyone does realize the true importance of having values, and like so say something like not eating pork might be inefficient, right? But and celebrating festivals might be inefficient, and it might not
Yeah.
provide the same kind of like discipline or like the other things, the other values we talk about. But I think that they're important in other ways, in the sense of creating community, and like you
Yeah.
said, lighting a diya,
Yeah.
something, or celebrating festivals. I feel like that's so important
Yeah.
within religions, because you've created these stories, and these stories are so grand and incredible.
Yeah,
So like when you
need
have the value,
milestones
right?
of those stories.
Honestly, like if you really look into it, and I probably sound like a fucking dipshit when I say this, but like if you really look into it, like the whole story of uh, like Hanumanji going through Lanka and like setting fire to everything, and like the whole like story behind Diva, it's a fucking incredible story. Like if you like really go into it and you really appreciate it, it kind of sends chills down your spine.
Do you, going back to what you said, do you think the values is the word that we learned all the time, like that comes from your family, it comes from your religious beliefs and stuff, but do you think religious beliefs, the values that come from, they have anything to do with the way people live their lives? Like not with the way, with the like the word values. Like your parents will teach you to respect people, to respect elders and stuff. Those are not religious values.
Yeah.
How do religious values ever help you to function in society? They don't. I don't think they do.
It's because I feel like most people will fail to realize that.
I think that's where the concept of heaven and hell, all that nonsense comes in.
Why it's important.
It's just that the good things in life, if you practice it, you're religious. If you don't, you're not. Your religion said none of it.
Yeah, that's one that's probably the one of the biggest causes of polarization when it comes to religion, when it comes to this modern trend towards atheism. It's because people are revolting against things like conservatism.
Yeah.
Right, and like in general we've seen a rise in the left a lot, and this is like this whole topic of these things like respecting your elders and like why we should. It's very intriguing to me. I had something in my mind. I forgot what it was, but so about so I think a lot of people would simply fail to realize these values without. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say was so there's this is one YouTuber called Iman Gadzhi. Have you heard of him? So he's basically done a bunch of things. He's done multiple businesses to get to where he is right now. His net worth is like something like 35-40 million, right? And he's only like 23, 24. And in one of his videos, he said that one of the most important things to do is fear a god. And his reason and like he didn't go too much in depth about it, but like that kind of stuck with me and I thought about it for a bit, and I realized that when you don't have a religion, when you don't have a god, when you don't have a divine being that is overlooking everything that you do, you are subjected to doing sketchy things behind other people's backs because there's no one to see it. Like you can get away with things, but when you have a divine being that is looking upon you and constantly judging you based on your actions, you always make the morally right decision, and 99% of the time making the morally right decision, having principles, really pays off.
I think it's about being held accountable beyond society. You know, most of us, most like a general normal human being has probably never been in legal trouble before in his life, but there's still a fear in him of doing wrong things on a personal moral scale and whatnot, and all that shit comes from the higher being, this narrator in everyone's life that people seem to find the need to keep, because if you don't have anything that you fear or that you don't answer to, that's why people say like natural disasters that happen, tsunamis, whatnot, these are like the working forces of what is God, you know, anything that can turn life around.
You know, I think
large scale.
बाहर गए हैं पता नहीं मुझे दरवाजा बंद करो. I think one of the biggest issues or not an issue. This is just an observation.
Yeah.
What secularism has done is that it's replaced a god with the law. And what the law does, the law looks at evidence. It looks at the CCTV. It looks at other witnesses. It doesn't. What it doesn't look at is it doesn't judge you what you do when you're on your own. Whereas God, whereas a divine being, constantly overlooks that.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is something that is fundamentally wrong with the legal system. It's that it doesn't make you become a moral person. It makes you follow the law.
Become a fearful person.
Be a fearful person, and that too of the law.
Yeah.
We have friends who are like consuming drugs, and they do it they hide it because they're not afraid, because these people, they're not afraid of a god.
Yeah.
Right? I
They're
sound so
afraid of
fucking
getting
conservative.
caught.
I sound like such a fucking cutter fucking Hindu when I
Cutter.
talk like this. But it's like these people are atheists because they aren't fearing someone who is looking, who is constantly overlooking them, because they don't believe in that.
Yeah.
They're only fearing the law, and that's why they do these things behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And this is something that's fundamentally wrong with law, because
It's just a set of rules that is designed for you to fear, first thing, because they all come with a consequence of different durations as well. You're weighing out what matters
Whereas
more.
it shouldn't be
valued.
There
Exactly.
shouldn't be specific values as to what is right, what is wrong.
And you shouldn't have to tell people that this is okay, don't do this. Okay, they won't do it. They won't get caught doing it. There's a difference between doing it and not, and then not getting caught doing it. And that's where the law goes wrong, because it's a very flawed plan in general. Like the law is very flawed because
bars.
It is, bro.
Flawed. Yeah.
Nice. I just got it. I said it. I didn't even get it. Oh, law, flaw. Okay, got it.
Did you finish your chat?
Yeah. Is that the water bottle you were talking about?
Yeah.
It's not that big. Mine's so much bigger than this.
Shut up. How many liters is it?
Bro, it's like this big.
How many liters is that?
1.5.
This is 1.5. Okay, shut up.
This is 1.5 because it's fat. That's why. But it should be bigger.
Stop body shaming my bottle. I love this thing. I love it so much.
Which I wanna hold it.
Like when I hold it, like from the outside, it fits perfectly into my
Why
hand.
does it have the shaker thing? You don't need it for water.
But I don't want to lose it, so I just leave it inside.
The amount of dust that should probably, or the particles of just random shit. You know what? It's heavy. Yeah.
You know, I think
I get attached to my body.
honestly, me too. Like I was just about to say, I feel like I'm emotionally attached to the little shaker over here.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of times if I open, it's like I open this and I take out the filter thing, and if I put water straight in, then and I put it directly on top of the thing, it starts to spin. I really love that.
Yeah. It's the little things, dude, in everything. Also ADHD.
Oh yeah, this kind of helps us transition to this other topic that I didn't want to talk about. Materialism. I've realized I see this as a trend amongst like a lot of the youth, a lot of people. We're all kind of obsessed with materialism, like, and I'm guilty of this. I'm still actively guilty about it, but I'm guilty about it in a different way. I'll explain that. So for the longest time, I've been obsessed with sneakers, right? Like I was a complete sneakerhead from 2017 or 18 up until 2020 or something, or 2021, and I was completely obsessed with sneakers. Like I knew every single release, and I was like, damn, if like one day I can afford this, that'd be so awesome. And over time, I've kind of found a different type of relationship with the objects that I have, and it's like once you kind of start to form, once you live in a family where you're not granted things very easy. I am in a very privileged house, like where I live right now. But if you saw like the house that we were living in like a few years back, like 2016 or so, it wasn't as nice. It wasn't as pleasant. There were a lot of bugs. It wasn't as good as like the house that I'm living in right now. And on top of that, my parents, like from the start, they've already, because they've grown up in these households and they know the value of gratitude. My parents have always like they've always been like conservative when it comes to like giving me the things I need. So the laptop that I'm using, I've been using it for like 2 or 3 years now, and it's this MacBook that my dad bought in 2016, a MacBook Air. It barely works now. And a year ago, I was begging my dad, please get me a new laptop. I really need a new laptop. But like the more I've discovered things like gratitude, and I've realized how much of an emotional attachment I have to this like piece of trash laptop that doesn't do shit.
Same. My fucking MacBook is trash, but I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
I will not let it go.
And like once you kind of realize that, and once you've been through like the whole thing, so I was also like really into tech. So I was like, oh, like the newest like tech release, like it has like this cool new feature. In the grand scheme of things, having an extra camera on your phone doesn't help you fulfill your purpose. Like it might be cool, maybe if your purpose is aligned towards tech, like all these tech reviewers that you see, like their purpose is aligned towards it. Like you look at someone like Marcus Browning, like, he's a very respectable man. Like, you watch him or?
No, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So this is like he's gained massive success in what he has, even though this is someone who probably is like gratuitous and like he knows things like he's aware of things like mindfulness, but his kind of purpose is aligned towards growing his business and on YouTube, and that involves feeding towards like the materialism and the consumerism of things. But if you look at the people that are kind of obsessed with tech, and
there's no purpose. Really.
Yeah, it's a very different type of person.
I think like especially what you said about the iPhone thing, it's like everyone who wants to get a new phone honestly wants a new phone for no reason. Like most of them, even if you're a photographer, that's a place to start. But you can't be like, oh, I'm gonna get the new iPhone and make a fucking film. Like, no, that's not how it works, okay? Like, that can be what launched your hobby towards it. After that, you have to develop yourself to the point where that is trash camera for you and you are using real professional equipment. And that's why I don't understand the thing with, like, in our normal circles, this obsession with tech. I don't get it because these things are not adding any value to anything that you do.
Exactly.
You're still using the same, you're still texting the same fucking friends on the same apps. Like you're not, it's not adding any value to your life.
Spot on.
That's why I think if you want something good, the feature that you want, get it to the 100%. Get the full deal.
I feel like a certain person said this where like I think it was Ali Abdal. Have you heard of him? He's also one of these productivity self-help guys. He said you must value the things that get you from 0 to 1 more than the things that get you from 1 to 2 or 1 to 10. Not 1 to 10, but like 1 to 2. You know? And like that really stuck with me, and I thought about all the things. So maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, getting a new phone after like 2 years, it made sense. But now we've gotten to the point where like the phone that came out in 2017, it works almost as good.
It's enough.
It might be a couple seconds slower at opening apps, but aside from that, it's the same
that
thing.
doesn't reduce any value.
Exactly.
But I think it's all about measuring value, and a lot of people don't understand that with Apple, especially. Like Apple is gonna turn into, it is a monopoly in its way, and it's become so because of this fucking strategic like slowing down of the phones.
मुझे irritate कर रही है.
Please close the door and stop yelling. Close the door and stop yelling.
नंदिनी दीदी को कॉल करो ना
खुद कॉल करो.
Do they fight?
No, they don't really fight. They just cry and they complain about. I'm not gonna cut that one. Yeah. I think not just Apple. I feel like this translates into everything. Something that I find quite interesting as a concept is cars. Now, cars are like, to some point, like if you're a college student and you need a car, then you need a car for transport. If you're a teenager, you need a car for transport. But it gets to a point in your career where you need it as a show of a status symbol.
Yeah.
Unless like you're super into cars and like you've aligned your purpose or something, or like it's one of your favorite hobbies.
Yeah.
Unless like it is, and you kind of need it to work in a capitalist patriarchal society. You kind of need these types of status symbols, which is very interesting to me. So for me personally, I might not see the value in going from a perfectly fine working Suzuki car to a Mercedes, but in the this is about personal values, but like in terms of how I want to progress my career, I might see the value in getting something like a Mercedes.
I think associating nice things with having money is like the principle of it, you know, and that's why a lot of people who don't even have an interest in cars, know nothing about cars, but they're like, oh, I have the money, so I'm gonna go buy it, you know?
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a status symbol. You're right, absolutely. And I think cars, especially like in a country like ours, like in India, it's beyond ironic that people here have the urge to have nice cars because the roads are so good. So then it's kind of just like a thing where it's like, I have the money, so I'm going to do it, but again, there is no value for it in your life. Like, anyone who has a Mercedes or a BMW or whatever, one of the big nice cars, you ask them genuinely, like, how does this bring a value to your life? It does not. It's just people see you get into it and drive it. That's it.
So when my dad bought his BMW, like it was like for us all, it was kind of like it was a milestone.
Yeah, it's a sense of achievement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like someone that I have so much respect for him. Like, who's calling me? My mom's calling me. I have to pause. What are you making? Oh, you're doing the scribbling thing.
Yeah. What the hell? You do the same thing.
Does it smudge on your?
I don't want to find out.
Because I haven't used that pen yet
This
on my
pen is like
hand.
out of ink.
No, it's not. It's just it's probably the oil that
Yeah,
yeah.
on skin.
Yeah. We're rolling, by the way.
Oh,
So you can continue. I'll keep talking.
yeah.
But yeah, so I was talking about my dad. So he's someone that I have like so much respect for, and I feel like being able to treat yourself after you've gotten to like, a certain milestone, like I don't care what it is. Like
Yeah, I agree with that.
if it's like this excessive consumerism, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like you want to get into it, you get
I
into
think
it.
people who have achieved it are not like the face of consumerism. Like I wouldn't call them.
100%.
Yeah,
I agree.
I
with
don't call them like the. If anything, they're like the ones who've understood it themselves.
Exactly.
You know? So then, if you've understood something, you can't get shit for it. You know. But the people who are already on the top, always been on the top, them doing the same thing, it just feels like a. You're like, why? You know, until you do it for yourself.
And I feel like a lot of people, you said this, you resent what you want.
Yeah.
So I feel like a lot of people really hate rich people for
Yeah.
that, for this whole rhetoric that, oh, they're promoting consumerism and all of that. But no, in fact, it's like a lot of the people who are doing nothing with their lives, the people who want all the materialism, that don't realize that the true fulfillment, it doesn't come from having these nice things. It doesn't come from having the material. It comes from having the knowledge that you've worked hard and you've worked your ass off to get to where you
there.
want.
Yeah. I think everyone wants what they can't have, and for rich people, like extremely rich people who get a lot of hate, they want understanding from other people. Or not really understanding, it's more like
Honestly, I don't think rich people give a shit.
they don't give a shit.
They
exactly.
don't. They do not give a shit about these
Because
things.
they're just like, they can plaster it off and leave it as jealousy, you know?
Yeah.
And they don't have to care about
And
it.
honestly, they've gotten to a point. They've gotten so high where like it doesn't matter what someone who's like so far low on
Yeah.
that level thinks.
Yeah. I think if you're sitting at the grassroots level of something and then looking up and talking shit to the person on top, you can see everyone, but no one can see you, you know?
Exactly. That's exactly.
I think that's what it is. It's the levels, the hierarchy of the thing.
It's like when you're climbing up a mountain, you see other hikers around
Yeah.
you, or the people who are getting started.
Yeah.
You see the rest of you see the
Yeah.
whole mountain range, right?
Yeah.
Once you're on top of that mountain, all you can see is clouds and then the other peaks of the
Yeah.
mountains.
Exactly.
And you can only see the birds that are flying
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
That's what
You
it
don't
is.
look back down, bro. Ever.
Yeah. And even if you try to, it's just clouds there.
Yeah.
It's just this mist.
Exactly.
So
That's such a beautiful metaphor, man.
it's called an analogy.
Oh yeah.
That's
Shit.
what an analogy is.
I never get the right
I'm
word
actually
for
like I feel like
things.
I'm so good at analogies.
Yeah.
But you know the trick to being good at analogies, and I've just realized this.
Reading
It's-
a lot is one.
No, it's not that. It's you can make any fucking thing an analogy. You just
Yeah.
need to know the right things to say to make
I
it
think
relate.
it's your concepts should be really clear for you to.
Perhaps. But the way I see it, I think good analogies just come from like knowing the right things to say rather than the analogy itself. Like
Yeah.
the mountain analogy, like someone could say, oh, but the mountain is widest at the base and the smallest at the top. So the less people are at the top. But I'm like, no, you look at it like from a different perspective. That's actually how you get a good
It's all
analogy.
perspective.
Exactly.
This feels like an IB classroom. Bro,
Mhm.
we're always like perspective.
And that's what I really like about like international curriculums. It's like they promote you to think.
Think, yeah.
But the problem is a lot of the kids don't realize that.
That is true. I think they don't maximize the opportunity to the fullest. Like,
I at the same time I don't think it's their fault that
I
they
think
don't realize
until the idea of it being a systematic school system is not out, nobody can ever see it as a liberal
it. Exactly.
thing.
I completely agree.
That's
with
all
you.
it is.
That's spot on.
Any kid will do the same research, same work by themselves for a topic they like to do it on. But then the second you put it under a subject, even though it's still very liberal compared to a lot of school systems, they will still not take it in. I think it's all cause and effect with schools.
I think no matter how much value you try to provide someone in school, ultimately they're gonna see it as like, oh, I have to do some fucking homework.
That's all. Exactly. Can't put
The-
people in a box.
I think learning has its own natural progression,
Yeah.
which is why I think the key to solving a lot of humanities problems is to just sit and think, because that's what I've done the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
I've just sat and I've thought.
Yeah.
And dude, like 6 months ago, like me, like thinking so deeply about a lot of things, I was never able to do that. And like a lot of people, like when I talk to them nowadays, like they see me as like, whoa, like how does he know all of this? I'm just excited to say it. Well, like 50 years ago, okay, not 50 years ago, but like this wouldn't be a big deal. Like if we were living like 1,000 years ago,
Yeah.
1,500 years ago. And
No,
have
I
you
think
ever?
as time progresses,
Hmm.
people get more disconnected with their thoughts, especially in our generation. I think people are very connected with their thoughts, but for all the wrong reasons. Like, they're not trying to turn it into something that they can churn productively.
Hmm.
Like, you
I
can
feel
churn it into productivity.
People recognize their thoughts, but they don't understand them.
Yeah. And if they do, they see it as something they don't want to get into. I think a lot of people are really smart and they don't even know it.
Hmm. I feel like being smart is just something you can achieve by just thinking.
Yeah.
Like thinking, and I'll stick by this. Like no matter where I am in life, thinking is the solution to all of humanity's problems.
You're right.
And creating a systematic way of thinking, a way that is merged with the correct principles.
You're right.
If you think about it, we like you hear about like all these philosophers, like fucking Plato. Was Galileo a philosopher? He was just scientist, dude. Let's just assume he was a philosopher. Plato, Aristotle.
Yeah.
You hear about all these Greek philosophers, and you start to wonder to yourself, why isn't philosophy as big of a like philosophers were fucking worshipped during that time. Now if there's an older dude like going into philosophy, he's kind of looked at as like, oh fucking weeb, like fucking liberal arts guy. Like, oh why
When the
aren't you man up?
foundations of all of our societies lie in philosophy, I think it's because most of the major things are said and done, or someone's already said it. So now studying it seems stupid to most people unless you can come up with something new yourself. But I don't think it's about coming up with something new. It's about finding various perspectives on what's already there.
Hmm.
You can raise controversy to anything with a differing opinion. And I don't think philosophy is like geeky or anything. I think it's
Yeah.
really cool. I think
I
it
think it's
makes you
fucking
like
awesome.
on the highest level of
Yeah.
society that you can be.
I agree. And I feel like we're both feeding each other's egos right now.
Yeah. Bro, psychology and philosophy students, like, I think both.
I think design students as well, because I have to say that. Because a large part of the field of design is changing the way you think.
Yeah.
And that's my design teacher. She is incredible. Like she is one of the people I admire the most. And I've like constantly thought to myself, before I leave for college or like whatever, I want to show like that gratitude to her, because she has like really changed the way that I think.
Yeah.
And like it's like this one individual, like this one teacher, someone that I can actually look up to as a role model. Like I kind of always knew in the back of my head that a lot of the systems that we have in place about thinking and everything, they're wrong. But you don't want to be like that one guy who's still unsure about their theory and like telling everyone else that they're wrong. But like when you have someone that you can look up to, someone who's been proven in their field, and they come up to you and tell you the way that society's been telling you to think is wrong this whole time, it's so empowering. It validates all the thoughts that you have. And I feel like you need to meet just one person, just one role model who will do that for you, and after that you'll be on your way to success.
I think anyone who lets you feel different, but in a way that you embrace it, instantly becomes a role model. I think and that's why they say like some parents who like restrain their kids too much or something like that, and then they're like, oh, that's bad parenting, or the child naturally
Grows resentment.
starts resenting their parents because of that. Why? It's not got anything to do with being strict or not getting to do what you want. I think it's simply feeling like someone agrees with you. It's the core principle of it's human nature. We just want to feel seen.
Hmm.
I think feeling seen is the biggest thing that all humans look for, and then even more, the whole concept gets more emphasized when you're a student, because then you see it in a professional manner.
And a lot of professionalism and
Yeah, and
a
there's
lot-
more
it's just
baggage
com- it's
attached
just
to it. Yeah,
competition.
there's more baggage.
so you have